Disbelief as 17-year-old black mechanic's daughter fixes impossible engine, her hidden talent. Maya Williams stood in the auto repair shop, the odor of oil mingling with the warmth of the sun filtering through the open garage door. Her heart raced as she wiped her greasy hands on her faded jeans. Today felt different. Today, she could feel something electric in the air. She had always been the girl who could fix anything, a woman in a world that looked down on her for simply existing. For this brief moment, it felt like the tides were changing. Maya felt the weight of her father's expectations resting on her shoulders. Thomas, her single father, owned the struggling shop, and she could feel the burden of his dreams glaring back at her. Just one more year of high school, and then off to college, she would tell herself, yet she knew that practicality often crushed passion. But what if they could coexist? What if she could prove to Thomas that she was more than just the mechanic's daughter? Everything boiled over the moment Mr. Jenkins walked into the shop, his brown eyes filled with worry. "Maya, my old truck won't start. I think it's beyond repair," he stammered, shaking his head relentlessly. But to Maya, the challenge resonated with excitement. This was her opportunity. Heart pounding, she glanced at her father, who was busy with another customer. This was at the moment that could change everything. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Maya bent over the engine, the heat of the summer day contrasted sharply with the chill settling in her heart. She could hear the murmurs of the neighborhood surrounding her, neighbors knowing more than they'd ever admit. "Can she do it?" murmured a woman outside the shop. "A girl fixing a truck?" It was as if society was holding its breath, watching. But the more she tinkered, the more she discovered not just about the engine, but about herself. Each bolt tightened filled her with renewed energy, every click and clank of metal feeding a dream she had hidden away for years. But just as she began to feel unstoppable, she heard a voice she dreaded, her father's booming presence slicing through her moment of triumph. "Maya, what are you doing?" The air thickened. Reality punched her in the gut. "I'm fixing Mr. Jenkins's truck, Dad," she shouted back, frustration spilling over. He didn't see the fire burning inside her. He didn't understand. The argument ignited, two generations colliding in a storm of misunderstanding and expectation. Thomas's fears, rooted in a harsh world that had often overlooked him as a young man, clashed violently with Maya's ambition. Tears threatened to spill down her cheeks, but she fought them back. Just when it seemed that everything would fall apart, the whispers of the community wrapped around her like a supportive embrace. They believed in her. They wanted to see her succeed, perhaps more than her own father did. Would he ever understand her? Could she conquer this impossible engine and, in turn, prove to him that this journey was hers to forge? As the jagged edges of their relationship were laid bare, she pondered whether the rusted gears of her family could somehow realign. With every second ticking, all her hopes and dreams dangled over the edge. Would she be able to bridge the gap that separated them, or would she become another casualty of tradition? The path ahead shimmered with uncertainty, leaving her gripping the wrench tightly in her hand, ready to change her world forever. The tension in the air felt like a live wire, striking through Maya's resolve. She looked at Mr. Jenkins, whose face was twisted with both doubt and hope. Just moments ago, she had felt like a warrior, poised for victory. But now, her father's voice rang in her ears, a siren call of fear battling her fierce desire. She inhaled deeply, catching the smells of oil and metal that filled her lungs. welcoming the familiar sense like an old friend. "Maya, this isn't what you should be doing," Thomas said, stepping closer, his face a mixture of concern and anger. "You're meant for bigger things. College, a life beyond this shop." His words felt like an avalanche pressing down on her spirit. "Dad, I want this," she protested, the urgency threading through her voice. "This isn't just about fixing the truck. It's about proving that I can do what you do." "Proving it to whom?" He shot back, arms crossed over his chest. "To the world? To me? You think I care about what others think?" "It's not about their opinions. It's about mine." Her heart raced away from her, desperate to find its way out of the cage of expectations. "I can do this, Dad. I know I can." He sighed deeply, the air escaping him like a balloon losing its last breath. "And what if you can't?" That question hung between them like a dense fog. Her fingers trembled over the rusty engine parts, recalling every tutorial she had watched, every late-night conversation with her father about the mysteries of machinery. This truck was the vessel for her aspirations. It represented not just repair but reinvention, both of herself and, perhaps, her relationship with Thomas. The murmurs outside grew louder, shifting from doubt to curiosity. "I think she can do it," someone chimed in. Maya felt a surge of emotion wash over her. The community she had grown up in stood by her, just beyond the clutter of the shop. They were her silent cheerleaders, willing her to succeed when her own father felt trapped in the past. The battle in her chest surged doubt versus dream. With a final glance at Mr. Jenkins' worried expression, she made a choice. "I'm not backing down, Dad. I need you to trust me," she declared, her voice firm. Thomas fell silent, and for a fleeting moment, she thought she caught the flicker of pride buried beneath the weight of his fears. Uncertainty still marinated in the air, but hope crept in on strong wings. Maya returned her focus to the engine, her hand shaking slightly as she reached for tools. The crowd began to gather, and their presence ignited a fire in her. She could feel it now. This was not just Mr. Jenkins' truck. It was her dream, her chance to rewrite the narrative. As she began to work, the chatter faded, replaced by the soothing sounds of her determined movements, the wrenches, the grinding of metal, and the purr of her thoughts coming alive like the engine beneath her fingertips. But as she tightened the last bolt, a cloud of doubt threatened to darken the corner of her mind. What if it wasn't enough? What if things fell apart right in front of her? Then she remembered the faces of her neighbors, the unwavering belief they had in her. With newfound resolve, she looked up at Thomas. "I'm going to fix this, Dad. And you're going to see." In that moment, amidst the noise and the uncertainty, she felt a shift. Would they witness the birth of something new, or would tradition cast a long shadow over her aspirations? A tightness gripped her chest as she awaited the truck's first roar. She breathed deeply, listening as the world held its breath with her. But before she turned the key, she noticed Thomas stepping back, his brow furrowed with unspoken questions. What would he do next? Would he step forward into her world or retreat even further into the past? In that lingering tension, Maya held her breath, ready to embrace her moment or risk losing everything she had fought for. Maya's heart raced in the silence that enveloped the shop. The crowd stretched behind her like a wave, eyes wide and breaths held. She felt the weight of their anticipation, the thrill of possibility coursing through her veins. Every face shouting encouragement, every whispered promise of support, fueled her belief. And yet, that fiery determination was shadowed by the heavy weight of Thomas's watchful gaze. "Just one turn of the key, Maya," she whispered to herself, her fingers trembling with a mix of excitement and fear. The engine stared back at her, a labyrinth of metal and grit, but she was ready to navigate it all. This was her moment. "Go on!" Someone from the crowd shouted, breaking the poised stillness, and a ripple of encouragement spread through the onlookers. Mr. Jenkins stepped slightly forward, eyes reflecting doubt but tinged with hope. Maya caught his gaze, and in that moment, she understood not just what this truck meant to him, but what it meant to her. A chance to shed the chains of expectation. With a steadying breath, she inserted the key into the ignition. The moment felt monumental. It felt like the world around her had gone quiet, as if reality itself was waiting, filling the air with an expectant hum. She turned the key. The sound echoed, metal scraping against metal, resistance meeting resolve. An uneasy cough, followed by a sputter. It was a sound of struggle. Her heart sank for a heartbeat, but then she pushed on, twisting the key again, and this time there was a howl, a rumble, and then it was like music. The engine roared to life, a deep throaty growl that sent vibration through her chest and brightened the eyes of everyone gathered. Cheers erupted. The crowd surged forward, clapping and shouting encouragement. But all she could see was Thomas, standing there with a mix of shock and awe painted across his features. It sent a charge through her like an electric arc. His pride was buried deep, but she could see it trying to break free. "You did it," Mr. Jenkins exclaimed, clapping her on the back. His voice reverberated in her ears, and she felt a surge of happiness at his approval. This was more than fixing a truck. It was a triumph over doubts, both his and her own. But then, all of a sudden, Maya felt an unfamiliar pang of guilt hit her hard. Had she really done this for herself, or to win back her father's approval? Did fixing this truck make up for all those moments where Thomas pushed his dreams onto her? Didn't he want to compromise who she was? She needed him to accept her just like this. "See? I told you," she said, looking back at him, her voice steadier than she felt. "I can do it. I can stand on my own." For a moment, Thomas met her eyes, and Maya felt a swell of hope. But then it faltered. His shoulders slumped, his expression changing, as if he was wrestling with his own feelings. "Yeah, but it's just one engine," he mumbled quietly, a hint of something spiritless creeping into his tone. The cheers around her faded into a gentle murmur. Where was the celebration? Why couldn't he see what she had achieved? "Just one engine," she echoed, confused, feeling the shadow of disappointment creep around her like a fog. And yet, a spark ignited within her. "You're wrong." She realized now that it was about more than one engine. It was about possibilities. About defying expectations. Maya took a step closer to Thomas, the bustle of the crowd fading into white noise. "I'm not done yet, Dad. This is just the beginning." The uncertainty in his eyes told her there was a long road ahead, paved with fears and hopes. Would he choose to follow her on this road, or cling to the past? And as she looked at the truck, still humming contentedly, a question lingered in her mind. What else could she accomplish if she dared to embrace every part of herself? The air thickened with potential. The next step was hers to take. Would Thomas take it with her? Maya stood there, heart still racing, thoughts swirling wildly. The truck had roared to life, a melodious victory over doubt. Yet, the bittersweet taste of her father's dismissal lingered. She had wanted to share this moment with him, not just as a daughter, but as a force. It was her breakthrough, and she wanted him to feel it too. Behind her, the crowd buzzed with excitement, echoing the exhilaration in her chest. People clapped each other on the back, faces alight with smiles. Mr. Jenkins was still cheering, his face flushed with joy. But all Maya could focus on was Thomas, his brows knitted tightly, lost in a whirlwind of emotions that seemed to keep him miles away from the pride that filled the air. Maybe he doesn't know how to celebrate, she thought sadly. Just as she was about to turn away, he spoke again, his voice a low murmur that cut through the fervor around them. Maya, his tone was hesitant, filled with a caution that made her stomach churn. "We should talk about this." Talk? Of all times, he wanted to have a conversation now. About what, Dad? About how I just fixed this. About how all those years you told me I couldn't do this. The faint color in his cheeks faded as he processing her words, yet he wouldn't meet her eyes. You know how hard it is for me for anyone to understand this. He gestured at the crowd and then back to the truck, all the unspoken questions hanging in the air. But Dad, it's not just about them. It's about me. This is who I want to be. Panic surged within her. Everything that lay before her felt uncertain, but they needed to move past this moment. He drew in a sharp breath. Then why does it feel like you're running away? Maya flinched. Running away? I'm not running away. I'm stepping forward. I've spent my life trying to measure up to your dreams, and I finally feel like I'm breaking free. Her words hung like heavy weights between them, shimmering with truth. She could see the churning in Thomas's heart reflected in his stormy eyes. Was he afraid of losing her? Did he think she wasn't enough? Maya, I never wanted this for you, and what did you want? For me to sit back and watch life pass by? As frustration bubbled inside her, Maya couldn't shake off the longing for approval. Dad, I did this because I love working on machines. I want to be a mechanic, and that's enough. He finally tore his gaze away from the ground and met her eyes. There was fear there, but also something else. Something much deeper. It's not that simple, isn't it? Isn't it all a matter of choice? Her voice trembled, merging with the electric atmosphere. She didn't want to sound defiant, but she felt an unshakable need to be heard. As the crowd began to disperse, Maya felt the weight of his silence grow heavier. Each passing second seemed to stretch and twist into a tangled knot of tension. Would he see the truth behind her fierce desire? She closed her eyes for a moment. Images flashed through her mind, the countless hours spent in her grandfather's garage, the feeling of a warm engine beneath her fingers, and the joy that surged in her when she successfully fixed even the smallest of problems. Dad, please, understand that this is where my heart is. I want you to see me for who I truly am. Then show me, he replied quietly, a cautious spark igniting in his voice. Maya's heart skipped, hope blooming anew. I will. But you have to be with me on this. I can't go back. As realization dawned on Thomas that this was more than a truck, more than an engine, it was a bridge. A chance for both of them to step onto unknown ground and find commonality in their chase of dreams. She needed him to believe in her. Needed him to take that step forward with her. With a deep breath, she said, "Will you join me on this journey, or will you watch me from the sidelines?" A long moment passed. Maya knew they were both at a crossroads. The future loomed large in front of them, the question lingering like thick smoke. What would it take to finally bridge the gap? Would he choose to embrace the road ahead together? The silence between them felt like a heavy fog, thick with unspoken words. Maya held her breath, waiting as Thomas searched for the right thing to say. She could see the tension etched in his features, his brow still furrowed with uncertainty. This wasn't just about a truck anymore, it was about who she was, and who she wanted to become. Maya, his voice trembled slightly, and she seized the opportunity to push forward. Dad, I mean it. This doesn't have to be a battle. It can be a chance for us to understand each other. He looked away then, his gaze drifting to the crowd that was now thinning out, people chatting and mingling, all buoyed by the shared victory. You know how much the world has changed for women in this field. It's not exactly a warm welcome, he murmured, almost to himself. I get that, Dad. But I want to be part of that change. I want to show everyone that I can do it. I want to show you, she replied, her voice firm yet laced with vulnerability. A flicker of something crossed his face, pride maybe? Or concern. Maya, the only reason I hesitated is because I've seen what this world can sometimes do to people. I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want you to fail. Her heart sank a little. Would he always see her through this lens of fear? She took a step closer, feeling the weight of his apprehension. But failing is part of learning. I've learned from every mistake I've made. I need this, Dad. I need to try. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck as if trying to ease the weight of the conversation. Your grandfather would have been proud. Tears prickled in her eyes. I am proud, she said fiercely. This is my journey. I'm carrying his spirit with me, and I want you to see that. Please? Thomas looked at her then, really looked at her, and for the first time, she thought he might be starting to understand. I'll support you, but the world is going to be tougher than you think. And there will be setbacks. I'm ready to face them, she said, her resolve like iron. But I don't want to do it alone. I need you. Not just to watch from the sidelines, but to be there when I struggle, to stand by me when I first get that engine running, to cheer with me when I succeed. Is that really what you want? Yes. That is all I've ever wanted. They stood there for a moment, caught in the tide of each other's emotions. It was more than just a dialogue. It was a shifting dynamic, a renewal of their bond. She could feel the walls that had once had him so isolated beginning to crack, exposing the man behind the guidebook of expectations. Finally, Thomas nodded slowly, a soft breath escaping his lips. All right. I'll try. I'm going to try to be there, Maya. A wave of relief crashed over her, followed by a bubbling excitement. She felt herself smile, the thrill of possibility dancing in her veins. Thank you, Dad. This means everything. But just as they shared that hopeful moment, a loud crash made them both jump. An old truck had rolled down a small hill, sideswiping a couple of barrels, and coming to a stop with a dull thud. Maya, I think someone needs your help again, Thomas said, a grin spreading across his face as he nudged her shoulder gently, pride lighting up his features for the first time. Looks like it. She dashed toward the scene, adrenaline surging, embracing the calling she loved more than anything. As she approached the chaos, Maya couldn't help but turn back and catch her dad's gaze. What would it take for him to truly believe in her? Would he step up not just as her father, but as a partner in her journey? And maybe, just maybe, amidst the crumbling barrels and unexpected obstacles, they could build something robust together, a road stretching out before them, filled with hope and new challenges. With determination pushing her forward, she dove into the work ahead. This time, she wouldn't look back. But what she didn't expect was the surprise waiting for her, intricately tied to the truck's unexpected stop. The air buzzed with the energy of excitement and anxiety as Maya hurried to the truck. Dust swirled around her feet, and she could hear the muffled panic of people shouting, directing their attention toward the old vehicle. Heart pounding in her chest, she felt alive in a way she never did in the stillness of conversation. This was her realm. As she got closer, she saw a group of men gathered around the truck, looking bewildered. They were all trying to figure out how to lift the heavy frame off the ground. The engine had stalled, exhaust trailing like a ghost behind it. Maya's hands itched to dive in, to get to the root of the problem. Step back, she called out, her voice firm and steady. The men turned, surprised by the girl who dared to command attention amidst the chaos. A few looked skeptical, but others stepped aside, giving her a space to work. Taking a deep breath, she dropped to her knees, hands sifting through tools scattered on the ground. She felt her father's proud gaze from the sidelines, urging her on. Maya glanced at him, the deepening pride in his eyes filling her with warmth. It wasn't just about fixing a truck. It was about proving herself. The engine was an old V8, a complicated beast that felt like an old friend. The moment she opened the hood, a whiff of rusty metal filled her nostrils. Okay, come on, she whispered to herself as she maneuvered her fingers deftly among the wires, assessing the damage. The thrum of energy around her faded, and she could hear her heartbeat echoing in her ears. Don't get stuck in your head, she murmured. She remembered the hours spent with her grandfather in the garage, absorbing every lesson he'd ever taught her about engines. As if he were guiding her, she quickly pinpointed the problem of flooded carburetor. With a rush of confidence, she pulled out a wrench, tightening a loose bolt while glancing at the crowd. "Is she really going to fix that?" someone whispered, and she caught snatches of skepticism in their tone. But then, she remembered her father's words about the harshness of the world. She bit her lip, pushing through the nervousness and focused on the task. This was her moment to shine, to show that she was more than just the mechanic's daughter. After minutes that felt like hours, she managed to clear the flooding, her hands now covered in grease and grit. Each twist of the wrench sent a jolt through her, firing her up. "Here goes nothing," she said, giving the starter a good rusted crank. The engine sputtered at first, then roared to life. A collective gasp erupted from the crowd, and she could hardly contain her smile. The truck rumbled, the sound echoing through the space, vibrant and fierce. "Yes! There you go!" she hollered, her spirit soaring as she jumped back up to her feet. She turned to see her father clapping, a wide grin splitting his face. The awe in the eyes of the men around her shifted from disbelief to respect. As the driver of the truck, an older man with a bushy mustache, approached her, she felt a rush of joy. "That was incredible, young lady. You actually fixed it." "Just doing what I love," she replied, grinning from ear to ear. But amid her triumph, a sinking feeling crept in. The admiration was intoxicating, yet she wasn't just seeking approval from this group. She wanted her father to fully believe in her strengths and dreams. In that moment, her gaze caught Thomas again. For a heartbeat, she pondered whether today's achievement was enough to mend their past scars, to bridge the gap that still lingered in his heart. Then, without warning, as if the universe had decided to throw her another curveball, she noticed the driver's reaction change entirely. His face paled as he clutched the side mirror, eyes wide and almost frightened. "You don't understand. This truck, it's not just an old clunker. It's connected to something we lost, a family secret that I thought was buried." Maya's heart raced. What could possibly connect this truck to a family secret? And why did she suddenly feel as if they were standing on the cusp of something much bigger than they imagined? Maya's breath hitched as the old man's words hung in the air, heavy with expectation. She glanced around the group. Most of the men were still staring at her, mouths open, caught between awe and skepticism. But that older man, there was something more in his gaze. Fear? Regret? She couldn't quite place it. "What do you mean? What family secret?" she asked, her voice steady even as her heart raced. The air felt charged, like a storm brewing just beneath the surface. This was more than just a truck now. It was a doorway to something deeper. He hesitated. "This truck belonged to my grandfather. It's been passed down through the family. They said it hid something that we lost when the truck broke down years ago." The surrounding murmurs faded as Maya leaned closer, absorbing every word. "What did it hide?" "Memories," he whispered, his eyes glazing over. "When he died, we thought it took everything with him. But I received a letter the other day. It hinted that the answers lie with this truck. I never believed in such things until now." Maya's thoughts raced. Memories tied to a truck? Something hidden inside? The notion seemed absurd yet thrilling. Could it really be true? Her fingers unconsciously traced the rough surface of the truck's hood, a spark igniting within her. Perhaps this was not just about fixing engines, but about uncovering the past. "Do you think you could help me find out?" the man asked, vulnerability cracking his voice. "You might be our last hope." All eyes turned toward her. She felt the weight of their expectations pressing down, a wave of pressure lapping at her confidence. This was different. It wasn't about pride anymore. This was a chance to be part of something significant, to help a family reclaim what they lost. Yes, Maya blurted out, surprising even herself. I'll help you. The man's face softened, a glimmer of hope lighting his features. Thank you, young lady. You have no idea how much this means to me. As the group began discussing ideas and possible leads, Maya couldn't help but feel a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. The engine was a baffling puzzle, but perhaps the secrets hidden away were even more intricate. She dove into the investigation, her mind ticking as rapidly as the tool she brandished. They searched for clues beneath the vehicle, examined rusted parts, and kissed it with fresh oil, while the sun cast its warm glow over them. With every moment, the anxiety crept back, but so did a fierce determination. And if you find nothing? One of the men interjected, his tone dismissive. Old trucks don't solve family problems. Maya shot him a glance. What if it does? This truck holds memories. What if those memories bring healing? The doubt in the air simmered, but she could sense a shift, a growing consensus among the group. They were beginning to believe, even if just a little. Later that evening, as the sun dipped beyond the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Maya sat on the edge of the truck's bed. The air was thick with anticipation. She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear and looked over at her father. He stood nearby, a silent supporter, his expression a mixture of pride and concern. Whatever you decide to do, Maya, I trust you, he said quietly. His words lit a fire within her. Maybe this was her moment, not just as a mechanic, but as someone who could make a difference. She put her head down, breaking out her toolkit, determined to unearth the truck's secrets. But the night was deepening, and, without warning, she spotted something glimmering beneath the front seat. Heart racing, she knelt and reached in, fingers brushing against something cold and metallic. What was it? Just then, the older man's voice broke through her reverie. What did you find? Maya's arms trembled with excitement, but doubt crept in. Could this be the key to unlocking the truth? In that instant, the mystery about the truck deepened even further, twisting into something that felt bigger than all of them. What had she stumbled upon? And as she pulled it out, her mouth dropped open in disbelief at the sight before her. Maya's breath caught in her throat as she pulled the object into the fading light. It was a small, rusty key, intricate, with grooves and designs that spoke of another time. It felt heavy in her palm, the cool metal tinged with the warmth of her hope. What is it? The older man asked again, his voice barely above a whisper, almost afraid of what it might mean. A key, she replied, her mind racing. But not just any key. It was a key to something hidden in a cabinet. A box? What could it have unlocked all those years ago? Maybe it would lead to the memories the old man had mentioned. As the whispers of anticipation rippled through the group, Maya felt the weight of their expectations once more. Each person leaned closer, eyes wide in disbelief and curiosity. It was as if the key was a beacon, pulling them into an unfolding story that began long before any of them had arrived. Do you think it belongs to the truck? A younger man chimed in, his eager eyes fixed on the key. Maya shrugged, her confidence buoyed by their excitement. Only one way to find out. With everyone's attention glued to her, she climbed back into the truck's cab, every movement feeling weighted with the possibility of discovery. What if this key opened a compartment that housed family memorabilia? Maybe photos, letters, or something even more significant. Try it in the glove compartment, the older man suggested, a tremor of hope returning to his voice. Maya slotted the key into the lock. It resisted at first, then clicked open with a surprising ease. She felt her heart race as she swung the glove compartment door wide. Inside was nothing but old papers, a crumpled map, a few dusty napkins, and a strange, yellowed envelope. Gingerly, she reached in and pulled out the envelope, its edges worn but intact. She felt the weight of history in her hands, the promise of long-forgotten tales. She looked at the group, their faces illuminated by the last rays of sunlight. "It's here," she said, breathless. "Whatever it is, it's in this envelope." Tentatively, she opened it and unfolded the brittle paper. As she scanned the words, her eyes widened and she gasped. "It's a letter. It talks about a treasure, something important to the family." "Treasure?" one of the men echoed, incredulity spreading over his features. "Yes, something about a family heirloom," she continued. "A necklace, passed down from my great-grandmother. It's hidden somewhere else near where the truck broke down." The group erupted in a mixture of excitement and disbelief. Questions tumbled out, each one buoyed by the promise of a family secret about to resurface. But there was also doubt, the lingering fear of false hope. "This doesn't mean anything until we find it," Maya said, returning to her grounded self, trying to temper the infectious enthusiasm. "We still don't know if it's real." But the older man's eyes sparkled with something unnameable, decades of yearning given a flicker of light. "Could it really be true?" he murmured. Maya's heart raced as she clutched the letter. All of this felt bigger than her now, bigger than any truck repair. It was a journey into history, an unraveling of knots that had long been tied tight. As they began to discuss their next steps, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that the truck was only part of the puzzle. It was just the beginning of a much larger narrative. In that moment, clouded by excitement and uncertainty, she glanced down at the dusty map stuffed inside the glove compartment. The ink had faded, but there were markings all over it. But just as she began to decipher the lines, a distant rumble of thunder echoed across the sky. Not far away, storm clouds gathered ominously, dark and foreboding. "Let us hurry," Maya urged, her voice resolute. "We may have just stumbled upon a family legacy, and it's waiting for us." Little did they know, the storm wasn't just brewing in the sky. It signaled a storm of secrets that would either bind them together or tear them apart as they sought to uncover what lay hidden within the family's history. What awaited them on this journey? And what else would they uncover about the legacy buried deep within the confines of that old truck? Maya felt the urgency wrap around her like the thickening air before a storm. She glanced at the map again, the faded lines and hastily drawn marks beckoning to her. Her hands trembled slightly as she tried to decipher where the treasure could be hidden. Every second counted, and the wind began to whip around them, kicking up dust and leaves as if to echo the rising excitement in her chest. "Okay, everyone, gather round," she called, her voice cutting through the growing murmurs. The group shuffled closer, their faces a mixture of hope and skepticism, each grappling with what the letter could mean for them. "We need to figure out where this place is. We can't waste time." "Right here," a man named Lucas pointed at a spot on the map, his finger trembling slightly. "It looks like this could be near that old oak tree by the river." Maya's heart leaped. She remembered stories about the tree, a place where her great-grandmother used to take the family on warm summer days. Yes, it was a gathering place, the perfect spot for something precious, she said, her voice picking up momentum. But just as excitement surged, doubt crept in. And what if this is all just a wild goose chase? Another voice piped up, Sophie, a friend from school who had joined them, her skepticism as familiar as the summer rain. "A treasure that has probably lost to time." Maya raised an eyebrow, steeling herself. "What if it isn't? Imagine if it's real. Imagine finding something that connects us to the past. We owe it to ourselves to look, right?" The group fell silent for a moment, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Then the older man spoke, his voice low yet filled with hope. "I've waited a lifetime to reclaim a piece of my family's story." "You're right, Maya. We need to find it." With that spark of agreement, they set off, leaving the truck behind. The rumble of thunder echoed again, louder this time, almost a warning. As they made their way through the underbrush, Maya felt the thrill of discovery mingling with trepidation. How will we know what to look for? Someone asked, glancing nervously at the fast-approaching storm clouds. Maya searched her mind for the stories her grandmother once shared. It should be near the roots of the tree. That's where the old stories say it would be hidden. Something buried with love. The path twisted and turned, unraveling like a thread of fate. Each step quickened her heartbeat, the anticipation thrumming in her veins. She could almost picture the necklace sparkling, entwined with family history. They reached the riverbank, the trees bending under the pressure of the wind. The oak loomed ahead, strong and wise, its branches stretching wide like a welcoming embrace. "There it is!" Maya shouted, pointing to the majestic tree. Its trunk was thick with age, roots sprawling like gnarled fingers gripping the earth. As they approached, the storm broke overhead, rain pouring down in sheets. The group exchanged worried glances, facing both the storm and their vulnerability. "Let us dig here," she urged, pointing at a low rise beneath the shelter of the tree's canopy. Everyone rallied, shovels and fists striking the wet earth, fingers clawing desperately at the ground, all driven by the hope of legacy. Minutes melted away as rain soaked them to the bone. With every handful, Maya felt the tension build. Would it be there? Could this moment redefine her family as history? Then, suddenly, a clink. A sharp sound that echoed like a bell in the chaos. "Did you hear that?" Lucas exclaimed, sweat mingling with raindrops as he dug deeper. Maya's heart raced. "Yes! Keep going!" Please. As the group continued to unearth the soil, a glimmer caught her eye. Something round, with the promise of age and family ties. But just as they were about to grasp it, the ground beneath them trembled, revealing yet more layers of buried secrets waiting to be discovered. What was it that lay beneath the roots of that mighty tree? Would it unlock only history, buried deep, or would it also reopen old wounds? As the storm raged on, they braced for not just treasures, but the truths that had long been hidden away. Maya's fingers curled around the object as it emerged from the earth, a locket, encrusted with dirt and time, glistening softly beneath the rain. Heart racing, she held it up, and for a moment, the world around her faded away. This wasn't just a piece of jewelry. It was a symbol of connections that had withered in silence, waiting to be reawakened. The group huddled close, gasping as the rain fell in torrents. "What do you see?" someone shouted, straining to peer into the palm of her hand. "It's a locket," Maya exclaimed, brushing the remaining dirt off with trembling fingers. It must have belonged to the woman in the letter. The enthusiasm was palpable, and a sense of unity surged through the crowd. "Open it," someone urged, excitement soaring higher. Maya's breath quickened. The anticipation hung thick in the air, crackling like electricity. With a careful motion, she squeezed the locket open. Inside, nestled against the cool metal, were two tiny portraits, one of an elderly woman and another of a young girl with bright eyes. This is her," Maya gasped, recognizing her great-grandmother's face. The other girl looked so full of life, and something within Maya sparked at the sight of her youthful spirit. The crowd murmured, disbelief mingled with intrigue. "What does it mean?" the old man asked, his voice tremulous, filled with hope and concern. "It means," Maya said, her voice steady with purpose, "that we have to find out their story. The locket connects us. It isn't just about money or treasure. This is about legacy." Thunder rumbled in the distance, but it couldn't drown out the whispers of realization floating between them. They were tapping into something bigger, a legacy that belonged not just to one family, but to all of them. "Let us head back to the shop," she declared, urgency blending with excitement. "We can work together to uncover more. We owe it to them to understand their lives." As they trudged back through the rain-soaked paths, shoulder to shoulder, each heartbeat echoed a new beginning. Thomas was amongst them, watching his daughter, merged in determination and a newfound respect for her passion. He could see now not just a girl tinkering with engines, but a young woman reclaiming her heritage. Once inside the shop, Maya and the group gathered around a table, each eager to dive into the mystery. They pulled out the letter, the locket, and the map. Maya felt the spark of inspiration soar as she began piecing everything together like a jigsaw puzzle. "It says here that the necklace was meant for someone who would carry it with pride," she mused, tracing her fingers over the fragile paper. Was it meant to connect families? Or was it a bond between women across generations? She felt a sudden wave of passions rise within her, memories of her grandmother's stories flooding back. Stories of strength, resilience, and triumph. With each moment they shared in that old shop, a sense of healing transformed their anxieties into something tangible. They began to recognize their own dreams parallel to the legacy marked by the locket. The more they explored, the more they realized that this wasn't just about rediscovery. It was about redefining their futures as part of a shared journey. Then, Thomas stepped up, emotion stirring beneath his usually stoic facade. "Maya," he said quietly, "your grandmother always said that the stories we keep are the roots that ground us. This has always been about more than just one engine or one truck. You've taught me more today than I ever thought I could learn. Thank you for reminding me of the importance of family and these connections." Maya felt a swell of tears prick at her eyes this moment. This recognition opened up a new path for both of them. "Dad, I need your help. This is our legacy," she said, her voice trembling. "Of course. Whatever you want to do." "I'm here," he replied, offering a reassuring nod filled with love and understanding. As the rain continued to drum against the roof, the warmth of shared stories, dreams, and reconciliations encapsulated them in a circle of unity. They began mapping out a plan to honor the memories hidden both in that locket and within themselves. Maya could hardly believe how much had changed in such a short time. From a mechanic's daughter fighting to be seen to now standing surrounded by those she loved, and those who loved her, she felt rooted for the first time. The storm outside began to settle, mimicking the joy and optimism brewing within. A collective sense of purpose united them, a commitment to uncovering their past while forging a brighter future. And as they dove into the stories hidden beneath the surface, Maya knew without a doubt that this was the beginning. A road paved with hope, family bonds, and newfound purpose stretching into the horizon before them. This was her moment, their moment, and together, they would embrace all that lay ahead. Now it's your time too. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it really matters. Comment your reactions and feelings about this transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans know how important this is.